Graham Vincent, violin maker and musician. I'm beavering away at the moment on these two violins, number, what was it, 43 and 44, I believe. Yep, got all the rib garlands together, and I'm just finishing putting the linings in. Then hopefully this afternoon I'll be moving on to working on the plates. Clothes pegs with rubber bands, still one of the best ways of putting linings in, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, yeah, both of these violins now, got all the linings in. Hard work, but good exercise, I guess. God, I need a rest though. That's why I play the violin. Right, on with the work. Another day. And if that seemed like a lot of work, it was, but it was worth it. That's going to be beautiful. Graham Vincent, it's a day later, and it's the first time I felt like putting a jumper on for a very long time. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of autumn in the air. Today's plan is to I've got to sort of flatten off the back of the rib garland. I've then got to make sure that they're a nice fit onto the inner face of the two backs. Then I'm going to sort of mark those backs to shape, cut them out, and then I can start actually the shaping of the outside of the backs. Right, this is the back. So first of all, I'm just going to mark the actual position of the rib garland onto the back, and using basically a pointy implement. So that gives me an absolute reference to where it's going. And then a washer, which I've selected because it's got the offset which is closest to what I want, and a pencil. Don't forget, of course, you're going to need a button on the back. I think a lot of people have sawn those off over the years. And you'll finesse the corners in a minute. You can, of course, just make the body to the template, the front and the back to the template, and hope that everything lines up. But you will inevitably have a sort of a wandering kind of offset overhang. Ask me how I know. I think that's one of the reasons why manufacturers tend to go for the external mold rather than the internal mold, because although it has its own issues, one thing is easier to make a consistent external shape on the rib garland using an external mold, or, well, no, that's not entirely true. It's easier to make one where none of the measurements are larger than expected, obviously. Any errors using this mold, it'll be larger than expected. With an external mold, any errors will be smaller. So if you use an external mold and cut the front and the back from a template, then despite the fact you might have a large overhang here and there, it will always fit. Whereas if you were to cut from the front and the back from a template without reference to the actual rib garland for this kind of arrangement, then you run the risk of having zero overhang if you really aren't working accurately. Okay, so that's that good. And I plop my template on there to get a rough idea how we're doing. Have a look at the corners. Of course, what I should have done is pop the pins through before I mark those out. So I'll just reposition this, then I will clamp that form onto the front, onto the back, and then I'll pop the pin through so that it locates in exactly the same place each time. I won't be cutting exactly down to this line because it's my intention to actually sort of do the edge work very late on in this whole process, unusually, because this is going to be the first violin, well, these two are going to be the first two violins I've made where I'm going to do the purfling after the whole body and everything is assembled, much as most of the early Italian makers used to do. And I'll explain how we know that later on. Right, well, we're ready to do some sort of shaping and carving tomorrow, so things are moving along nicely. That's one of the points when it all starts to look really exciting, once the shape starts to come into the front and the backs. Right, I think I'm going to leave that video there. I mean, basically, the body is, or the two bodies, pardon me, are coming together quite well. So, like I say, it's getting the edge down to thickness and then actually starting on the carving of the shapes of the outside front and back on both of them. So that's something to look forward to, but I think that's something for another video. So, yep, cheers folks, look after yourself, see you soon, bye.